waiting for it to go live. And if you would please all mute yourself until I'm ready. Mute yourself, will you? Till I'm ready. Then can you do that, Jay, or not? Yes, you can. All right, good. Thank you. All right, let's get this party started in 3, 2, 1.
Hello? Are you ready? Yes. Then we'll begin.
Okay, we're just coming out of a post-concert funk, and we're still very happy about it, so we'll be talking about that and a lot more, and I'm sick, so they'll be doing the talking. This is Monday Morning Catholic, episode number 92.
6:30 Monday morning, I'm here hiding in my bed. A song plays on my alarm clock as I cover up my head. And somewhere in the distance, I remember yesterday.
Well, I remember yesterday. I covered up my head and went right back to bed on Sunday morning, which is very unusual for me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Monday Morning Catholic Podcast. I am your very sick host and moderator, Joanne Mercier, from St. Martha and Mary Parish in Lakeville, Massachusetts, and so glad I have a full complement of people today, because if I didn't, the wheezing would get to you in about 10 minutes. And they're all, well, except for Stephen, who had to play out at a wedding. I'm thinking weddings, funerals, my husband would say, what's the difference? We have a full complement, but let's start with our guest today, Jason Herview from St. Brendan's Parish in Riverside, Rhode Island. Good morning, Jason. How you doing? Morning,
Good.
Jay.
Doing great.
Say something. He's in his car again.
Am I on?
We'll explain to you that. Yeah, you're pretty low too, Jay. I've got to get you up here a little bit. Say something else now. Say something.
Testing. How are you all?
A little
Testing.
bit better
How are you all?
the closer you get to your phone, unfortunately. And he's in his car because it's the quietest place he knows. When you have a one-year-old, it's the quietest place you know.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Nancy Smith with us. She hasn't been with us in a little bit, from St. Teresa and St. Christopher Parishes in Tiverton, Rhode Island. Good morning, Nance. How you doing?
Good morning, Joanne. Doing well. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Jason.
And they're all there. And then, of course, we have, and I'm going to get the music back for Linda, Linda Reed, the only one who's been with me the last couple of weeks, from St. Thomas Parish in Providence, Rhode Island. Good morning, Linda. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yes, and Linda, Nancy, and I were giving Jason a lesson on 70s TV detectives before we began. That's because Linda has a lollipop.
Lollipop?
And for those of you who can guess who we're thinking about, send us an email and we'll tell you if you're right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it away now. I want mail, so I'm not going to give it away at all. But I'm glad you guys are here with me this morning because I'm still sick. This has been going on for a week. Right after we did the podcast last Monday, I ended up with what everybody else has got with the creepy crud. Mm. So I've been trying to get through this week, and now looks like I'll be on week 2 with this. But we've got a lot to talk about, especially with the concert that was last Friday night. It was a wonderful time. A good time was had by all, as they all agree with me. Please,
Yes.
Please feel free to agree with me at this point.
It was
a phenomenal
topic
evening.
of conversation at the parish this morning because some of my parishioners, not my ensemble, but some of the other parishioners went, and they were thrilled with it. They said it was so prayerful, and they loved hearing the composers sing their own songs, and they loved the talking in between, the explanation of how some of the songs came to be.
You mean the banter of, this is not in the program.
Yeah, right.
musicians at the last minute changing their mind on what they want to do. This is not in your program,
This is not in your program, but we thought
Neither is this.
and neither is this. It was typical Haas, Haugen, and Jonkus when they get together.
Yeah,
I mean, those of us who've been to enough conventions and have seen them over the years and years and years know that this is typical of them, and they haven't lost their edge. We all make
No.
it older, but they haven't lost their edge.
no, it's most enjoyable. Like I said, everybody I spoke to said it was wonderful, and I spoke to a couple people who said, I almost didn't go because I was really tired, but boy, am I glad I went.
Mm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not something you're going to see again
Yeah.
where we live. We're here in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and they very rarely come in this direction. And
As a unit, as a
unit,
three of them
trio,
together.
Yeah.
They might come individually for this, that, or the other, but never together. The
No.
three of them, so that was truly an experience.
and all for a great cause.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ministry Alive is really doing some great work with young musicians, and that is the future of the ministry, and it needs to be cultivated big time.
Well, that's the thing. It's not like you can, you can't say to a bunch of young people, why don't you become church musicians? You can get rich.
No, money in church work.
That's not the way to sell the career.
I know.
You have to get them fired from the inside.
Hmm.
You have to get them fired from the inside to, make them want to do this. And that's what Music Ministry Alive is all about.
Exactly, and that's how I think all of us started doing this, was because there was a fire in the belly at one point or another, and that's not something you sell to somebody else. That's something you cultivate.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that's basically what this tries to do. And he's got an incredible amount of people involved in the program who donate their time and stuff. And but he's got to feed and house these kids for a week.
exactly.
And so he said in order to not make the fee exorbitant, he tries to subsidize some of it. He and Michael and Marty try to do that by having these concerts. And, that's how come they came here.
And I think it's great. I was glad we could help them out.
Yeah. Oh, it was wonderful.
We don't have any final tallies on anything. I wish.
No, not yet. But it was a good, appreciative crowd.
Hmm.
And I just, they seem to enjoy it too. So,
They had their fill of seafood, so that was
yes, we got them a lot of seafood.
that was part
A
of.
lot of lobster being consumed.
Oh, in a very
Yeah,
short.
Michael was telling me that lobster was his,
Is his
that he enjoyed his lobster this and his lobster that.
Oh, yes.
yeah.
We had lobster bisque and lobster rolls, and it's a lot of lobster.
Because being in Minnesota, it's called, there ain't no lobster there.
No.
Not fresh like out here anyway.
Gefilte fish maybe, but I mean, a big lobster
No.
place for them. What is lobster? What is
I got a lesson on lutefisk.
lutefisk? That's what it is.
I got a lesson on what that is. I never want to eat that in my life.
Really?
Did we lose Jason?
No, he probably had to drop out for a minute. That's okay.
All right.
He'll be
He'll
back.
be back. It's
But-
his picture is there, so that means he's still connected. So,
Okay.
but it was a great Friday. We
I
really.
saw many faces I hadn't seen in a long
Yeah.
time.
Me too. Me
That was a
too.
good thing. Yeah.
And my group is all fired up like they've been to a convention.
Really.
You know how when you come back from the convention,
Mhm.
you're all fired up. They were all fired. They were chatting. I could hardly get them quiet to go over our something this morning for Mass.
They've been up on the mountain of Tabor.
Yes, they were on the mountain of Tabor, and they had a grand time. They really
They
did.
drank the punch.
And they did, yes. And so they were all fired
In a
up,
good way.
and they sounded grand this morning, I have to say.
Well,
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Tess,
Now you're
Hey,
there.
Yeah.
Jay,
We got you, Jay. We've got sound, but no picture yet. He's working on it.
He's working on it. He'll get back.
Well, it was very good. It was a very good time. We're glad we could help them, and you can help them as well. Go to musicministryalive.com. Is .com?
I
think so.
You think so? All right.
If
So,
it's not .com, try .org.
all right. Yeah, I would think it's either .com or .org. And see what if you wanted to do something, help them out in some way, whether it's monetary or somewhere else. There's where you go. Music ministry. Oh, no, he's inside. He's back inside.
Yes.
There you go.
No. Well, I wanted to add to
Go ahead.
the concert, and I had some choir members that went, and when we were leaving, they said, you know, we've sung these songs so many times, but to hear it from the actual source, you know, it was really quite refreshing and quite new.
Well, that's just it, because I think a lot of this music has been filtered. You know, and it's filtered for different place. You know, wherever your assembly is, it's going to be done a little bit differently in each place.
Right.
And
Because you go through the motions.
that too, and you can't always do the entire thing.
Right.
Yeah, you can't always do the whole hymn.
Right, because you've got mass going on, so you can't do the whole thing, because sometimes it's not appropriate. So to hear the whole thing with them, and the tempo they take it at.
The tempo they take it at.
For me, that was a big piece, yeah.
Which is a hell of a lot like I take it.
Yeah, pretty much like I take it too.
You know, everybody accuses me of playing fast, and no, I take it at the composer's tempo. And if the composer's tempo is a nice, brisk
tempo, yeah.
Tempo, we take it at that. And if it's slower, I take it at that. And you know, a lot of people are used to singing some of these songs in a very slow or a very faster.
I don't know how you get much faster and still get all the words out.
Yeah, We Come to Your Feast even was a little fast for me.
It was, we sing it close to that tempo, I gotta say.
Close.
Yeah, I would pick it up a little bit. It was a little sluggish.
It was sluggish? Oh dear. This could get interesting.
I'll have to think back to that time. It sounded pretty good to me.
Yeah,
I haven't used it recently,
it sounded
but I want to
good to me. We
resurrect
sing
it.
it pretty close to that tempo.
This section is called Interpretation.
Yeah.
This is called
composer's right, wrong, or not.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's for example, now I had something queued up here. So we all know now, the four of us all know this song.
Blessed be God, oh blessed be God.
Oh, yeah.
Blessed be God.
We all know this, right?
Calls you by name.
Okay, so we know that. How many of us have heard it done slower than that?
I've never heard it done.
I've probably heard Joanne do it.
Tempo.
I have done it, and I've done it at that tempo.
Right.
I have never heard it done anywhere else.
Any
Really?
slower is deadly. I
have.
think.
Blessed be God.
Yeah.
The exact tempo. Okay. So that's what I mean. But a lot of musicians don't want to listen to how the composer interprets it because they're musicians and they take their information from the page.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And sometimes the editors' tempo markings are slower, faster. So you sometimes getting your information from a lot of different areas, I think, is better than only one.
Yeah.
Unless the composer is dead like Mozart and you don't have any.
Don't have to please him.
Then you're stuck with whichever editor has done this.
Yeah.
Quarter note equals 56.
Yeah.
Oh, very bad. Very bad. Depends on
I've heard some things done so slowly that you have to take a breath like after every 2 words. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
God, we praise thy name.
Even reasonably, if you ever heard "Here I Am, Lord" sung like a dirge.
Oh, I have.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I have. Well, folks, this is what musicians do all the time. We critique, But this is not a critique session here at Monday Morning Catholic. You look at the previous weekend's liturgy and try to make sense. And believe me, between the four of us, there are 4 different homilies.
Yes.
So you're going to get a plethora of homilies today,
Mhm.
as well as our, Voice of the People segment, which we're not all happy with what you chose this week, but we'll do it anyway. And a few other things. So, in interest of time, because if I don't stop the musicians from critiquing, we'll
Keep going forever.
we'll go right into our opening segment.
Hear what I hear.
Do you hear what I hear for the 29th Sunday in Ordinary Time? Okay. Now, we all heard the same readings this morning, unless we had some kind of different liturgy attached, and nobody here did, but
No.
you may have, if this is a great season for rite of welcoming in RCIA,
Yeah.
a few other things that might be going on, like weddings, for example, in the middle of a Sunday Mass, which I know happened last weekend.
Yes.
But this weekend, if you didn't have any of those things, you were hearing Isaiah 53, and of course, in the state that I'm in at the moment, the very first line really spoke, where it opens up, the Lord was pleased to crush him in infirmity.
Yes.
Yeah, I said, okay, thanks, God. You're going to tell me something.
Yeah.
But of course, this is part of the suffering servant passages.
Right.
So this is all, again, Isaiah's explanation that the Messiah is not so much a king in the worldly sense, but a king in the spiritual sense, and a servant, rather than someone who is served.
Right.
So this is the continuation in Isaiah. The readings were short today, except for the
They
gospel.
were short. Yes.
Unless you did the short version of the gospel, which you could do.
No, we did the long version of the gospel.
You did the long version.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good. But we got to Psalm 33 before that, and
Yes.
Lord, let your mercy be on us as we place our trust in you. Again, I played out this weekend, and I used the Gimon Psalms, which that is a very nice. I do like the way he is very melodic, and his chordal structures are great. But the cantor that I had this weekend said to me, but sometimes I think the refrain is written for one thing and the verses are written for another, and I'm going, and yes, that can happen.
Yeah.
Where are you playing?
Where am I playing? I'm playing in New Bedford.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so 3 weeks.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's fine with me.
No, I just hadn't heard. That's all.
Oh, well, you got to listen to the show.
Yeah.
I started it and I had to walk away and do my job.
Okay, fine.
The one I get a paycheck for.
Okay, then fine. Here we go.
The rails are close.
We're all just, we're great friends here. Okay.
We did the Psalm of the Day also. We did the version by Marty Haugen. Surprise!
And that's the one I had in my head all weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one I had in my head all weekend.
I like that one. That's one of, they do these psalm collections, and like Psalms for the Church Year, or Cry Out with Joy, or Lyric Psalter, and every one is not, your favorite, but this particular Psalm 33 of Marty's is one of my favorites. I really like it.
I always use a different, I never use the same edition of anything any one week. It had to, for me it always had to fit what was going on. And if I liked Gimon, I'd use it. If I liked Gelano, I'd use it.
Yeah.
You can't yell at me in Gelano.
I have at least 8 or 9 sources.
Yeah.
That have a weekly psalm, and I just go through and see which one I want to do.
Right, but then again, there are parishes, and we know that Stephen is going through this right now, where responsive flame is the only thing he can use at the moment.
Yeah, and that's, baby steps.
Right.
Stephen's condition is that he really has to do baby steps. It's driving him nuts, but he has to do baby steps.
I know, right? Yeah.
He does. Nancy, what did you do?
I'm drawing a blank on the psalm number. The Lord is kind and merciful.
103.
103.
Thank you. I'm doing complete. I'm going.
Okay, you doing a common psalm?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And
Jeannie Carter's.
Jeannie,
It's one
oh,
that I've been trying to teach him the last 4 or 5 months. We haven't done it solid, but as appropriate.
That's a I like that one. I like that.
They picked it up really well from the very beginning. I was very happy.
Cool.
Because I went to several different sources, composers, and that was the one that still remained my favorite.
Wow, I'm having a problem hearing right now, so I apologize if I'm stepping over people. I'm just having a little bit of a problem, probably because my ears are closing up. Great. So I apologize to Nancy for going blah, blah, blah about it 4 times.
That's all right. That's all right.
No. Jason.
I used I've been using the Cry Out with Joy collection.
Yeah.
So this week's was Psalm 33. I did use the Psalm of the Day. It was by Kathleen Harmon. Beautiful edition.
Oh,
I used that last week, Jason. I used Stephen Pishner's.
Yes.
Last week, I really liked that.
Fill us with your love.
Yes, fill us with your love. Fill us, O Lord, with your love.
Yeah, that it had a nice gospel feel.
Yeah.
And this is what musicians talk about again. Calm settings. That's okay. Just don't want to leave out the other people who aren't musicians. Sorry. That's what I get for rolling the whole thing along. Okay.
Good job.
Yeah, I know. Hebrews 4. We're still in Hebrews, and this is really the section on Christ the High Priest, and the author of Hebrews trying to explain that he is like us in everything but sin.
Right.
Again, to bring home that this isn't just somebody way up there who doesn't know what it's like to be and live every day on the earth. This is somebody who is one of us, but has never sinned because he is God. So that's the whole thrust of Hebrews, which is Christ the High Priest. And then Mark 10 was still there, whether you did the long or short version today. You got to hear, whoever wishes to be great will be your servant. And it's funny because I was telling my husband that, I was asked to write a gospel reflection, a daily gospel reflection for CatholicMom.com.
Oh.
And it happened to be the Luke version.
Oh.
Of this account of the sons of Zebedee.
Mm.
So I just did that a couple of weeks ago, and then here it comes again, and it was like, Lord, I think you're trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
Maybe, with the whole deal of, Although I did it from the point of view of the mother of Zebedee's sons, and how mothers always come up to you when you're work for the church and they want some kind of special consideration for their child.
Yes.
I did it along that one.
Never happens.
Never
a myth. That's a myth of the church.
It's a myth. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I plugged it in that way. So it'll be coming out on CatholicMom.com next July on the Feast of St. James.
Ah.
So yeah, there were 30. They asked for 365 different reflections. So it was fun to do. Anyway, so this is where we are. So who would like to go first? So I can rest my voice.
All right, I'll go. Nobody else. Okay, let me come back.
No, Nance, we'll take you, but we're seeing your lovely picture.
Because I'm looking for something.
Okay, fine.
But
okay,
I didn't find it, so I'll come back.
Okay.
Okay. Did I come back? Am I good?
Yes, you're back.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Father's homily was short and sweet. He kind of started the Mass with pointing out that the saints, the new saints, were of St. Teresa's, our St. Teresa at the church is her parents are the new saints couple, the couple that are saints.
Oh, that's right.
And I was trying to find the names. I couldn't remember.
Yes. No. It's Louis and Zélie Martin.
That's Zélie. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to find a second ago. So he started talking about that and how important that was to us as St. Teresa Parish. But basically he talked about love of money and the desire of power that can come to all of us. I'm seeing Jason as my big screen. That's why I didn't know if what was going if we were all set.
Jason's making faces. Go ahead.
So, and basically the asking that we're being asked to leave all of that behind
and to embrace humility in our life and in what we're doing, what we're asked to do, and leaving things like that, because there are aspects in all of our lives that we covet the money, we covet the desire, the power, this type of thing. And so talked about humility and the need for humility in all of our lives. And let me see if I can read my handwriting here. I was able to take notes, but I can't read them. Talking then about Mary, being the month of Mary, and we do the pray the rosary before each Mass during this month, and how she's our example of humility, enabling us to practice humility as we pray to her. And that each time we come to Mass, we come to receive the Eucharist in wherever we are, whatever state we might be in, because Jesus died for our sins, and we could go on and on with that. But so basically, we come as we are. We strive for humility in our service to the Church, to each other, to our families, to ourselves. And Mary's a good example of that if we ever go astray.
Good. I had a feeling that you might bring up something about the canonization today, because that was on the books this weekend.
Yep.
4 canonized.
Yep.
But the important ones was the first time a married couple was canonized together, which I think is
and being Teresa's
huge.
Parents, yeah.
Right, and being Teresa Lisieux's parents, yeah, that's huge too. So it's kind of nice he wove that in as well, and that's, again, timely for all of us, especially now with the Synod and the family. And
it is, and it was one of those. That's where I left. Somebody had posted a picture of them on Facebook, and with the names, and that's where I went to find out. I couldn't remember the names, so that was my.
Oh, believe me,
I didn't write it down.
After years of knowing who her parent, I've got it down who her parents are now too, and they're from Normandy. Now, when I do my genealogy, I want to see if my husband's related to them.
Oh, good.
We'll see if we can trace that in, because I traced his family into Normandy, so you never know.
Wow.
It is possible, anything's possible.
Yeah.
So, I love a good mystery.
Love a good genealogy.
That too. Very much, that too. So, Linda, if you like a good genealogy, do you want to go next?
Why not? He started with personal observation. He said, this week's gospel is one of the times when I'm really embarrassed to be named John. He said, James and John in the gospel. He said, I have a brother. He said, I have 4 brothers. One of them is named James.
Oh, jeez.
If James and I had ever approached our father with, I want you to do something for me. Not a question, not a request, but a demand. I want you to do something for me. He said we probably wouldn't have any teeth from this day. But he said it's amazing to think that that's the way they were talking to the man that they had abandoned everything to follow. They expected something for all that they had done. Jesus, on the other hand, thank goodness, did not reply as my father would have replied, and asked them what they want. Then, after their unbelievable answer, he asks them, can they drink from the cup he will drink from and be baptized into the baptism he has been baptized into? And without thinking, yes, of course we can, without thinking about the consequences of that statement. To follow Jesus means to give of ourselves, and it means to understand what our baptism is all about. It means living out the promises our parents made for us and what we reconfirmed at our confirmation. Baptism is more than just water and oil and candles and white garments. It's the acceptance of living out the implications of following Christ, of denying ourselves, of serving others, of accepting pain and suffering along with joys and happiness from the living out of the gospel. And then he told the story, and this is one of the few instances where his story really bombed. Nobody got it.
Yeah, no.
Usually he just, he has a little story or a joke that's
Right.
humorous.
Right.
And when he gets to the end, everybody's, laughing.
Right.
And he started it at 4 o'clock mass, and he finished it, and there was like, bump. There was nothing.
Oh.
Here's the story. Let's see if you get it.
Yeah, let's see if we get it. All right.
It's like the story of the principal of a Catholic high school who was surprised by a phone call. It came from an inmate at a nearby prison who had made a considerable fortune through illegal means. Not that we know anybody like that.
Not in Rhode Island.
Now, the man was offering to make a significant donation to the school. In return for his donation, the inmate wanted the high school to make it possible for his adult son, a high school dropout, to receive a high school diploma. So the principal inquired further, when would your son like to start classes? Oh, well, he doesn't want to start classes. He already has a job. He runs a company. Well, is he going to be taking classes online? Well, no, he's not going to be taking classes. He just wants a diploma. And the principal said, well, why your son is a successful businessman. He's got his own business. Why do you want him to just have a diploma? Because, says the inmate, education is important. Did you get it?
Bump.
It's a little dry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted the diploma, but he didn't want to be educated. Okay.
Ah.
Ah.
That was not one of his better ones.
No, well, the reason why he said that was, oftentimes that's the way we treat our baptism.
Ah.
We want the sacrament, but we don't want all the work that goes with it.
Well, then there you go.
Yeah. He said they have a baptism prep class, and Pat, my husband, participates in that. And Father John said the first question that Dr. Reed asks is, why do you want to have your child baptized? And he said, most people have really good answers. He said, but he said, I'm waiting for the day when somebody says, we want to have a big party for the baby.
No, that comes at confirmation.
Yeah, right. So, if we want to have our children baptized and we make our confirmation, yet do we live these sacraments out? Or are they just paper diplomas, so to speak? Are we willing to drink the cup and be baptized into the baptism of Christ? To follow Christ is more than just saying, it is doing, it is living it out. That's what Jesus said to James and John, and that's what he says to us today.
All right, now that makes sense. But of course, I too was wondering, where's that Joe going?
Yeah. He wanted the diploma without the education.
Well, and as one who is a catechist and a catechetical leader,
Yes.
that is correct.
Yes.
Everybody wants the end result,
Yes.
but no one wants to work for it.
Yeah. Well,
And that's, they think it's just owed to them.
sure.
And the problem is that, yes, we have, if somebody desires a sacrament, yes, they can just ask for it.
Yes.
I think that's with the reciprocal. If you're asking for something, then you have to be properly disposed.
And properly prepared.
And properly prepared, correct. Well, that's part of being properly disposed.
Yeah. It's, but I thought it made a lot of sense. James and John wanted the positions of honor, but they had no idea what it entailed.
Right. Yeah. Okay, God hitting me over the head again. Lovely. Okay. Round 4. Jason, you're next.
Well, I left my notes at home, but I'm going to do my best.
All right.
But he hopped kind of on the same theme that Linda was just talking about, James and John, wanting to be at the left hand and the right hand of Jesus, but not fully understanding what that was going to entail, that sense of power. And one of the things he talked about was gaining that power through by the sword, using that imagery of by the sword or by the cross.
Ah, okay.
and understanding that to serve, which way are you going to use to help people to come to that understanding of what to serve means? To serve with wholeheartedly, with compassion, with love, and ultimately through the footsteps of Christ. And he talked a little bit about Christopher Columbus, and he was sailing here, and the first thing he did was he was helping to spread the gospel when he arrived in the southern part of the Americas, and the first thing he did was establish the cross as the sign, as the focal point, rather than using war, and by falling to the sword, he used the cross as the way for people to see and to come to that understanding.
Well, there are indigenous persons that will disagree with that, but
Yeah, he talked about that too.
and we're seeing that lately. I cannot believe, to make a quick aside here, I can't believe we're talking about getting rid of Columbus Day, because the Indigenous Persons Day, political correctness on me is its foothold extremely fast. Continue.
So he hopped on that, and he ended with, what are we going to do as Christians? How are we going to answer that call to serve, and what does that mean for us?
Yeah, correct. What is it?
To be a servant of God? What is that going to take more than just ourselves? And he talked about children doing their chores, and instead of grumbling about it, you're helping to serve the members that you love of your household. It's giving of yourself. And mothers and fathers, we give to our children, and we support them, and we serve them, and when it's right and it's the right time, and they in return will serve us, and hopefully it's with love and compassion in the footsteps of Christ.
All right, well, I think then my homily continues that aspect. Because a definite theme running today. They were all sort of in the same ballpark. And this came from Notre Dame University's Basilica Mass at 10 o'clock. And it began, the homilist, who happened to be the rector of the Basilica, said, society measures success today through various standards. Wealth, title, position, control of others, whether you have a spacious home or you take many vacations and you wear the right kind of clothes. We're told that we should be the object of our energies and life goals. All of us are affected by how society is trying to shape us. But then, even kids at Notre Dame, at the university, are encouraged to succeed and to hope to be successful in life. But yet, what does real success consist of? And today's gospel answers this question, but in a way that most people today would not either understand, take seriously, or would simply dismiss as foolishness. What you don't hear, now the first thing, he said, he put it in context, and what we don't hear in this gospel for the past weekend is that Jesus has just told his disciples that he's going to Jerusalem to die.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's left out. So that's why if you understand what this context is, now it even makes James and John asking him that even a little bit crazier.
Yeah, really.
Then, they just didn't come out of the blue and say, Lord, can we sit at your right and your left? Yeah. I'm going to die. Well, Lord, can we sit at your right?
Yeah.
Like, whoa, stop. Take a pill. Take a moment's notice here. James and John ignore the hardship, okay, and focus on the promise of glory to follow. And they are not alone in this, because the other 10 are arguing that they are the ones who deserve the honor and the glory. And Jesus assures them that they will get their glory, not on their terms, but on the fidelity to the example of Jesus, which is to serve and not be served. If you wish for greatness, true greatness, you must be willing to drink the cup of suffering and undergo the baptism of trials that he undergoes. He's trying to tell his disciples this. And of course, Jesus doesn't want to condemn success, but he wants to redirect the definition. Okay, so the disciples must seek servanthood, not glory, and reduce oneself to the service of others. Now, we have to do the same, but it is so out of touch with what our society expects of us that we'd rather forget or ignore these words of Jesus. And then he summed it up that, Pope Francis sums this up very succinctly in this sentence. The world tells us to seek. Start that again. Cottonmouth. The world tells us to seek success, power, and money. God tells us to seek humility, service, and love. Who we pay more attention to will make all the difference. And that's how he ended his homily.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah, believe me, I wrote that one down.
Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot to take the phone out of the room again. Bad man. Because this is definitely going to be a message. My husband who went out. Yeah, here we go.
Hold it against. We'll just talk louder.
Better, because I'm going to be like pressing the phone receiver into my chair in 10 minutes. All right. Of course, if you have a good homily from this week, we would love to hear it. Any week. We love any kind of feedback whatsoever. So please send it along to mondaymorningcatholic@gmail.com. Or you can put it on the website, mondaymorningcatholic.net. You can put it up on the Facebook page, facebook.com/mondaymorningcatholic. Or you can call on the voice feedback line, 774-955-0659. There is nothing I can do about anything else that's going on right now. If this isn't the podcast of fun, I don't know what is. Everything is just, this has got to be the comedy podcast of...
That's okay.
Yes, this is what's happening, folks. I think we got I didn't think to get it out of the room again. Sorry, guys.
That's all right.
No problem.
At least people know that we're real.
Yes.
Again.
They don't know we're real human beings by now.
Yeah, I know, but you try in a podcast to put things forth in a very professional or whatever manner.
You can certainly see that we're in our homes,
Oh, most definitely. And then that happens,
Because I'm happy, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.
I don't understand what that word means anyway.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on, please. We are going to move on to...
The voice of the people cannot be denied.
Voice of the People this week on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Monday Morning Catholic. Y'all chose something that I was hoping you wouldn't.
Yeah.
But you did.
Yeah.
So here it is, gang. You want to know what's going on down in Newark, New Jersey. With the lovely Archbishop of Newark declaring no communion for you if you don't meet certain criteria. Okay, we got this off of, yes, and Jason shaking his finger for those who can't see. Okay, we all know that there are, in our canons, that you have to be disposed a certain way to receive communion in the church. And this has been a source of debate now in recent time, especially with the Synod, because of divorce and remarried Catholics outside of the norm, okay? And I have to say that because I never want to say divorced Catholics and remarried Catholics. Just because you're divorced doesn't mean you can't receive.
Yeah.
That still needs to be said 1,017 times. Because if people are divorced who think they can't receive, no, that's not it. If you remarry without benefit of the church, then that's a different story. But anyway, So we have this guy in Newark, New Jersey, the Archbishop, who is about a year away from retirement. So as a parting gift, he decides to put up a series of rules for people to be, this is how you're supposed to be disposed, or, you know, my priest should not be giving you communion. Okay? Right. Now, this thing, whoa,
Where is this coming from?
that's coming from Jason. Like I said,
Welcome to the podcast.
folks, it is usually not this crazy.
Well, the one thing I will say about this is what is so interesting to me about what this man did, aside from what he is saying,
Right.
what the rules he's setting up, is the timing.
Yeah.
It was very
yeah.
interesting that he waited until the Pope came
Left.
and left, and then hit the button to send it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was very interesting to me, in a negative way for him.
Exactly. And I think it was calculated. If you
I'm
want my
sure
honest
it was.
opinion.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You can find this. You'll find this on our Facebook page, facebook.com/MondayMorningCatholic, and you'll also find it at the Pray Tell blog.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's more people are not upset with what was said. And Jason's back in his car again.
Yeah. I needed power.
Needed power. Okay.
I'm not on my laptop, so.
Okay.
Okay. All
I
right.
knew exactly why you were there. Anyway.
Well, anyway. Okay. On.
We're good.
It wasn't so much what was said, but how it was phrased
Yes.
is more problematic. Okay? So, for clarity's sake, the actual document says, principles to aid in preserving and protecting the Catholic faith in the midst of an increasingly secular culture.
Yeah.
Already, I don't like that title.
Yeah.
Okay? Number 1, the Church will continue to cherish and welcome her members and invite them to participate in her life to the degrees that their personal situations permit them in honesty to do so. All right, so far I don't argue with that. Catholics must be in a marriage recognized as valid by the Church to receive Holy Communion or the other sacraments. That's problematic.
Well, yeah, it is, because
The English major will tell you.
yeah,
Go ahead.
it means that you have to be married in the church to receive communion. So what about single people? What about priests who are celibate? What about, anybody else that's not in a marriage situation
Yeah.
that was married in church?
Something tells me that this was done in haste.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because or not run by somebody who's a canonist. I don't mean somebody who knows how to shoot cannons.
Yeah.
Somebody who I just had to take that. Somebody who understands the laws of the Church.
Yeah.
Never have allowed.
It's very poorly worded. Very poorly worded.
Extremely poorly worded.
Or didn't get proofed after it was initially written. Something.
Right. It should say Catholics who are married.
Who, when married, should.
Who are single, when married, have to have validity of, has to be recognized by the Church. Non-Catholics and any Catholic who publicly rejects Church teachings or discipline, either by public statements or by joining or supporting organizations which do so, are not to receive the sacraments. Isn't that a freedom of speech issue too?
Yeah, yes it is.
Just because you support an organization, you can't receive if, like, I don't know. I'm one of the, because I don't belong to organizations like that, I wouldn't.
Yeah. No.
Then they are asked to be honest to themselves and to the church community. And there are a lot of people who'd say, being in organization Y has nothing to do with the church.
Yeah.
My being a politician has nothing to do with the church, and they honestly believe that.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that?
What do you do with that is right.
Okay? 2, parishes and other institutions of the Archdiocese should allow use of facilities only to persons and organizations which agree with the teachings of the Roman Catholic Church and its canonical legislation, or at least not oppose them. Okay, do we have to take a poll now of everybody who comes in?
Yeah.
Right, how do you
oppose? Go ahead, Jason.
how do you regulate? How do you essentially regulate all this stuff?
Good question.
I mean,
You know,
besides
do-
having your parishioners' basic information.
Do I think that they might mean you're not going to, for example, rent your hall out to an organization that by their name you know that their beliefs are contrary to the church's? How many people have that issue? I've never had, most of those places know not necessarily to come to
a church,
the church hall.
Well, here's
Is that what they meant? I don't know.
what do you do with a group like AA?
Yeah.
They're not all Catholic.
No, they're
No.
not all Catholic.
Okay, there is a Catholic branch of AA.
But I don't know that AA is against church teachings. I think they're probably, these are recovering alcoholics. These are not, this is not an organization that's advocating drunkenness. This is,
No. Are the persons that are running this, do they agree with Catholic Church teachings, or do they agree with...
Well, how do you find that out? I mean,
Is that a whole other piece of the rental agreement?
That's a whole nother... Yeah, it's like you have to have this rental agreement that basically makes people state their faith.
yeah.
Either that or the person that is leading that group or running it, is going to lead the group in a very spiritual and faith-based manner.
Right.
For instance, my parish, we just started an AA group, I think a couple weeks ago.
Mm.
And the guy that heads it and runs it is a very devout Catholic, and that's the kind of atmosphere he's bringing to that group, from what I've understood.
Right. And I've seen some groups that are exactly like that in AA, and I've seen other groups that just use the place and...
Pay a rent.
Right. Exactly. So what do you do then? It brings up a lot of gray matter
Yeah.
that we don't... That goes against what we're trying to do as an evangelization group, as an evangelizing group.
And you talk about the timing of him waiting till Francis leaves the United States, and now he comes out with it in the middle of the synod on the family.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're trying to determine these things.
Timing is everything.
Yay.
And then the last piece of it is Catholics, especially ministers and others who represent the church, should not participate in or be present at public religious events or events intended to endorse or support those who reject or ignore church teaching and canon law. All right. One of my best friends is Episcopalian.
Yep.
Okay, you're telling me then that I could not go to her church?
Yeah.
Something.
See, that's the pre-Vatican II.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
I'm not a cradle Catholic, but I remember my girlfriend saying she couldn't go. My Catholic girlfriend couldn't go to our third best friend's first communion at the Lutheran Church.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I couldn't understand that.
How we were taught.
Of
That's
course,
how we were
yes.
taught before the council, Nancy.
Yes, and I understand that.
Once the
And she
council
explained-
came, and
Well, you can-
ecumenism,
Yeah.
that we were encouraged to dialogue with people of other faiths.
Well, you can attend it. You should abstain from receiving, because they don't believe in the same way you do.
Of course.
I've done. I mean, when she got married, I did not receive communion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Sure.
I was a bridesmaid. I did not receive communion.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know me, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I've gone to a Melkite Rite mass,
that's Catholic, though.
but it's Catholic, yeah, and I have received there.
Yeah, that's Catholic. You're fine. But the wording says should not participate in or be present at.
Which is a whole different,
Yeah, that's different ball game.
Mm.
Now you're saying stay away,
Yeah. That's
and it's like, no, I'm sorry. I'm glad I don't live in
flies in the face of evangelism. It really does.
Well, and
Flies in the face of
and,
that.
and it goes against. I think it kind of goes against a little bit about what the Pope Francis has talked about, that word inclusive and exclusive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think what that that third one especially is that it's targeting a certain celebration that might be happening at
Yeah,
other churches?
I'm sure it is.
A specific one that's
Maybe.
Against church teaching.
yeah. I don't know. I don't want to get into.
Where you're going? Where? Yeah.
Okay.
It might be. It might be.
But it's not worded that way.
Exactly.
No,
Oh,
It's like, come
absolutely
out and
with
say
you.
what you mean, people.
Yeah. The thing is, if we say what we mean, then we have to own what we say.
Yeah, yeah.
The more ambiguous we are, the more.
Yeah, but then then it just sounds like the pre-Vatican II thing. If you walk
Yep.
into a Methodist church, you're going to get struck by lightning, you know?
And then what I would really like to know was what has the majority of the priests in that archdiocese response been? Behind
know.
closed doors. It's something. It's never going to have an answer. But
No.
behind closed doors, what are these guys saying? Are you kidding?
Well,
Really?
the thing that made gave me pause and food for thought was a quote that I read in the context of an article about this bishop's teaching, and the person said, "Is Holy Communion a reward for the perfect,
Right.
or an aid for those in need?"
The problem is that we should not be fighting over Holy Communion.
Yeah.
This is where I get in. This is where I get into my liturgy is not a battlefield.
No. But
And
there's
that's what we're
people that
doing.
want to make communion, receiving communion, a reward for the perfect.
Right.
All right, now, I'm not denying that you need to do your best to be in a good disposition to receive communion.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, to deny the sacrament to people who may desperately need it
Yeah.
doesn't seem at all compassionate to me.
I don't know where the middle ground is going to be on this.
I don't either.
Well,
But this policy is not. What just came out of Newark is nowhere near the kind of middle ground that we need in our church
No.
to deal with some of these issues. In fact, it throws us back about 40 years.
Jason.
we'll just take funerals for example. I mean, yeah, that's probably the best example to use as far as people receiving communion. I mean, most people that come to a church for funerals are either not practicing or they did years ago. They're probably not properly disposed. But do you deny them?
But
I mean,
but
my
part
pastor gives communion to people.
part of that equation is would the priest celebrating even know?
Right.
Yeah.
No, right.
Everybody
I
that,
mean,
that presents themselves for communion doesn't say, "Well, I haven't been here in 20 years,
Right.
but here I am." You know?
I mean, he usually makes a good point. Especially if it's a family that hasn't been around or something like that, he makes it a good point that if those of you are Catholic but aren't properly disposed, he doesn't say it like that, but you can come forward with your arms crossed for a blessing, and I will bless you at this time.
And see, I don't go for that either.
I don't mind that personally.
I think that causes more problems. But that's just me.
Well, that started with the children.
I know it did. And then for children, I can understand. When you have to schlep all your kids up with you,
Yes.
that I can understand.
So okay, with your example, what would the reason if the person chose not to receive? What would their reason be to joining the line?
Exactly.
To get a blessing.
To get a blessing.
Get a blessing.
Well, it's like at St. Thomas School. Every child that goes to St. Thomas School is not Catholic.
Right.
And so rather than, single out the non-Catholics by making them
Right.
sit in the bench, they have them go up with their arms crossed.
Yep.
Right, for crowd control.
And I understand that. I'm just looking at an
No,
adult.
it's not for crowd control,
So-
Joanne. I think it's to not shame, so to speak,
Okay.
the non-Catholics by saying, well, you sit here, you know. The rest of us are going up, you sit here.
It's different in a high school situation because they don't make the high schoolers go to Mass.
Oh,
They had, when I was teaching high school, Catholic high school, those kids who were not Catholic stayed in a room and had a free period.
well, that's not the case here at
Yeah.
St. Thomas. They bring the whole school over for Mass.
Well, I can understand because it's an elementary school.
And that's what, you know, I think that's made plain also when they are registered.
Right.
Right. You're
This is-
attending a Catholic
if
school.
you're attending a Catholic school, you will
Hello.
attend Catholic Mass.
Yeah, I know. I know. And see, this is where this little picayune stuff comes from. Okay? And I would prefer we didn't have any of this, but we do. And it's like if you make a decision in one direction, 4 dominoes fall on that side. If you make a decision in another direction, 18 dominoes fall on this side. Which side do you want the less dominoes to fall on? And that's how usually decisions are made. And I get it.
Yeah?
But something like this is a whole other realm of it's such a narrowing of our scope of who we are as Catholics that it sends such a bad signal to other people. You know, I mean, it's like, folks, yes, we have our rules, we have our regulations. There are things we must do, and yes, we will probably all of us stand up for them at one time or another. However, when you publish them like that and say you must do this or you will not receive communion,
Yeah.
now we got an issue.
Oh,
Not-
yeah, I'm not standing up for this thing at all.
No, none of us are.
No.
None of us are. But
I think it's awful.
it's one of the reasons why I hoped we weren't discussing it today.
Yeah, well, we got stuff discussing it.
We got the voice of the people. We said we'd talk about it. So thank you so much for making our day complete. Sorry.
Don't denigrate the people, Joanne.
No, I'm not going to do that either. But because they could give us something worse.
That's right.
But still, this was one of those conundrums, and I have a feeling it was probably chosen because we had all this great Francis stuff,
Yeah.
and now here's the antithesis
Yes.
of it. Okay? Well, the church is not perfect, people.
That's right. It's made up of human beings.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. And this is part of the ugly. Because I can't even say it's bad, it's ugly.
It's just ugly, yeah.
It's just ugly, period. So be glad you don't live in Newark, and pray for the people who do, because they get the coadjutor when this
Yeah.
guy retires, and you can bet Francis is going to accept the retirement on the day of his
Oh,
birthday.
yeah, yeah.
So let's pray for that, that whoever wrote this clears it up, or, there's a little bit of, peace and harmony, because this can really make people turn away,
Yes.
not just from the church, but from God also.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want that at all. It's not what we're here for. We're here to keep guiding people to the church. And in that respect, do we go on to the last thing? Nah. Well, let's do a quick one. If we can do it quickly. I had one last thing here.
How much time have we got left?
Not much, but I did this. We did this quickly before we got rolling, and let's see if we can do it. It's from our little technology and evangelization section.
Oh, yes.
And I won't tell the whole story, but I am interested because I have thought for a while about doing another podcast, what I would do another podcast on. And it seems to be coming to my attention that everyone who owns a smart device thinks that they're tech savvy. Yet, if you don't know how to use a smart device properly, then all you have is a brick. So my question here is, how much tech skills should today's musician, liturgist, catechist have for working in the church? And should somebody be providing some of this information to them so that they can work with their stuff properly? Go.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have a long way to go. I can operate certain functions on my iPhone and my iPad very well, the ones I use all the time. But if you ask me to do something outside of my daily routine, I may have to take pause and wouldn't mind a little instruction.
Okay. Nancy.
I'm pretty much with Linda. I can do what I need to do and want to do. But if you ask me, like the file you sent us from Evernote, I'm going all over the place trying to find, how do I save this to my device? For example, because I haven't done it from that type of a format before.
Okay.
So I have to find that and teach myself that. So it's out of need and necessity that I know things, not so much because I wanna, like you. I don't have iWatches or stuff to practice when I'm,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, you all mock
anyway.
me for my iWatch, don't you?
No, I absolutely don't mock you. I admire you. I admire your knowledge of technology, and I would absolutely be interested and in something like this as a participant, meaning learning from you.
All right. I wouldn't say, but I'm just wondering in general. Jason, you're the
I
youngest
understood.
one here. You're pretty much born with more of this stuff than we were. What do you think on this? What kind of level of competency should ministers in the church have today on this?
Yeah, I think the age we're living in, I think there should be some knowledge there. It can make your ministry run a lot smoother. You know, there's a lot of great tools at your disposal to help and assist. You know, and I've used them and implemented them. You know, just with my choir and such.
For example, Jay, do you send your choir stuff through email, or do you send them files?
Oh, yeah.
Have them go to a website and pick up stuff? What do you do?
I send them files. Like, for instance, when I started there, you know, something as basic as communication. So they used a phone tree. This person would call that person, and they would call all them. And when I came in, I said, no, we're using email.
There you go.
You know, as a means of communication. And, you know, they took to that fine. It was different. You know, but of course I have a few that, you know, a few of my older people, they don't use email. You know, so I've got to have them in the back of my mind, so if I make contact, I got to contact them. But yeah, as far as sending files, you know, I have a little Tascam digital recorder, and, you know, I'm savvy with GarageBand, so I throw the file that, you know, say I've recorded a part or I've recorded the choir at a rehearsal, I'll throw it in GarageBand, edit it, clean it up, and I'll email it to them as an MP3.
There you go. There you go.
Can you teach me how to do that?
Okay, GarageBand. There's episode 1.
No. Episode
right. Episode.
I'm not proud.
Excuse me.
your smartphone. Episode 1.
Yep, you can use GarageBand right on your iPhone 6. Yeah.
You can. You actually can.
Yeah.
And I use email with my choir members. That's how they get files and such from me.
Me too.
I will say that. Yeah.
I do use email.
Is there more to this that we can absolutely?
I also have
know
a
there is.
Facebook page for my
Yes.
account.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're all gonna say, oh yeah, she was doing this way before everybody else. I had a dedicated web page for my choir, and I would upload their parts on the dedicated web page, and they would pull it off.
I still don't have a web page for my.
Yeah, but see, yeah. So
I
basically,
thought I was being a hot shot having a Facebook page.
you're doing well. You do very well with your faith, and see that's something. Yes, ministers I think should be in social media. You know, they should be on social media. I hate Facebook, and I'll say that openly and honestly. I hate Facebook.
I don't. I love Facebook.
I hate it. Love Twitter. I would rather be on any day of the week than Facebook. But that's just a personal preference. I am on Facebook because of the page is on Facebook. That's the reason why. But I think ministers need to be socially, accessible, and also have to learn how to turn everything off.
Yeah.
Because there is a component of this that will drive us all crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the older people are more concerned about.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a slave to my device.
Yeah.
Okay, and I understand that. You have that power to turn it off.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
When you're, believe me, and being sick all this past week, did you find me on here all the time? Absolutely not. I would turn it off after a while. It was annoying me. So, yeah, I'm beginning to think that that might be where my next podcast is going.
That might be. We'll all be listening.
Like I said, prep us and let us know what we have to have with us.
Yeah, I know. Because you see, even though I'm sick today, I'm still here because they won't try this.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's so easy to do.
I can talk till I'm blue in the face, but I can't do all that stuff.
See, if I lived closer to you, it might be a possibility, but I'm a good 45 minutes from
Yeah.
you. So.
It has nothing to do with that. It's how you handle Google Hangouts. Just because I have all this music and I've got all this clips and stuff. That's just me.
Come on if there's a highlighted call coming in. That's how I come on. Does that tell you how much I know about Hangouts? Hangouts.
This is, this. It sounds like there's a need. Let me see if I can fill it in some way. But you need to fill our need, dear viewers and listeners, by sending us some great feedback. So again, MondayMorningCatholic@gmail.com is where you can catch us for mail. MondayMorningCatholic.net, the webpage. Please, drop something in the comment box if you do go there. And yes, I do put everything up there as much as I can.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a very simple page. There's no big frilly stuff. No dancing icons or GIFs come at you. It's nothing. Of course, we love you and doing the voice of the people. So please, Facebook.com/Monday Morning Catholic. Give us something really good this week. Maybe we just need something lighter. We'll take the light side. Maybe I'll try to keep putting up lighter topics. But of course, the stuff with the Synod on the Family is coming out, and I do want to get that out to people.
Yeah.
Or you can call us on the voice feedback line 774-955-0659. Been one crazy podcast, and I think that's what I'm going to call it.
It's not going to be episode 92.
Yeah.
It's going to be called Podcast of Thunder.
Yeah, Podcast of Thunder.
Instead of Thunder, it's going to be called Podcast of Thunder. We'll go with that. Well, again, I want to thank these three for putting up with all this kind of stuff with us. Continue praying for the Synod, because I think that's probably the biggest thing right now. There's a lot of information coming out of there that's not true. Let's all just try to wait until it's over and hear what they have to say, and then we'll know where we go from there.
Right.
So, for Jason Herview, Nancy Smith, Linda Reed, and myself, Joanne Mercier, pray that I get better this week. I could use it. Thank you. Okay, and I'll pray for all of you. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time. Ciao for now.
Bye.